Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Pittsburgh Foundation's 2026 Applicant Information Session. We are totally glad that you are here with us today. My name is Tracy Johnson. I am the Director of Grant Making here at the Pittsburgh Foundation. So I would like to welcome you to this session that we hope will answer some of your questions and give you some insights into our application process and things that you need to know. Next slide. So just some housekeeping things on today. ASL interpretation is being provided for today's event. You can pin the interpreter by clicking on the three dots that appear in their window and selecting pin from the drop-down menu. Captioning is available for today's event. If you would like to enable the caption feed, use the closed caption button at the bottom of the desktop app or in the settings section on your mobile devices. This presentation is being recorded and will be shared out on the Foundation's YouTube channel. Questions will be accepted via the Q&A feature, and if you encounter any technical issues or access needs, please put that in the chat at any time. Again, my name is Tracy Johnson. I am the Director of Grant Making here at the Pittsburgh Foundation. I am a caramel-colored Black woman. I have on a black shirt and a light gray sweater. I also have on glasses that are a tortoise color with browns and grays. I have a red pin on the lapel of my sweater, and my hair is in a curly ponytail for today. Next slide. So I just want to start off by sharing with you about some of our grant making in 2025 by the numbers. So we awarded over $16 million in 2025 across all of our grant programs that are managed by the Program and Community Engagement Department. This includes our fall and spring grant cycles, Advancing Black Arts in Pittsburgh, the discretionary grant process, and our out-of-school time rapid response funding. In 2025, we had a decline rate of 62%. And when we first started our strategic plan in 2023, we had a decline rate of 47%. That rate continues to grow. It continues to grow because the demand continues to exceed our resources as we lean into more general operating support and multi-year support. Next slide, please. So on today's agenda, what we are hoping to cover is an overview of the Pittsburgh Foundation and an overview of our foundation-directed grant guidelines. We are also hoping to cover special initiative and other grant opportunities, how to apply, our more than money beyond the grant dollar support, and hopefully we are able to answer any questions that you may have. Next slide, please. So the Pittsburgh Foundation was established in 1945. And in 2015, there was a merger between the Pittsburgh Foundation and the Community Foundation of Westmoreland County. And the Pittsburgh Foundation was permanently ratified, signaling a new era of collaboration and growth for both organizations. In 1960, its grant making was roughly about $250,000. In 1975, the foundation was a trust of 79 funds totaling $10 million. And we have had 6 leaders in our 78-year history. But today, the foundation manages roughly 2,500 funds. In 2024, the foundation awarded $67.9 million in grant making, which is broken down into $17.6 million for foundation directed and $42 million in donor funds. Next slide. Our mission here at the Pittsburgh Foundation is to improve the quality of life in the Pittsburgh region by evaluating and addressing community issues and promoting responsible philanthropy and connecting donors to the critical needs of the community. Our vision is that we commit to creating a vibrant, equitable, and just Pittsburgh region that supports everyone, regardless of race, identity, or circumstance, to thrive and fulfill their full potential. Next slide. So what are our values in our core work? So at the Pittsburgh Foundation, we value accountability, collaboration, community, trust, and racial justice. And here, our core work consists of our foundation-directed grant making, donor-advised grant making, and our philanthropic resources, public policy, and advocacy. Philanthropic resources is what was formerly known as the Center for Philanthropy. Our philanthropic resources aids donors and advisors in boosting their giving and extending their reach. It also offers donors expertise in every aspect of philanthropy, from grant making and nonprofit management to personalized education sessions to guidance on multi-generational giving. Next slide. So now we're going to go into what I believe that most of you are here for, which is our grant making guidelines. Next slide. So first off, there's eligibility. And so in order to be eligible for our grant making cycle here at the Pittsburgh Foundation through our foundation directed grant making, you need to be a nonprofit with a 501c3 status as determined by the IRS. If you are a group, a project, or a collective that does not have 501c3 status as determined by the IRS, you will need a fiscal sponsor, an organization that possesses that designation. You need to be located within Allegheny County and or primarily serve Allegheny County residents unless otherwise specified in the grant criteria. And you need to align with one or more of the foundation's grant making areas. The applications that are most competitive in our foundation directed grants program will demonstrate the following in their application. Opportunity for impact. So a proposal should have a clear timeline and outline specific goals and activities and a plan for measuring results or progress toward those goals. Those applications should also elevate community voice. We're looking for organizations that can explain how input from people and or community served has been used to inform the development of its programs and services, and that it has processes for ongoing feedback about the quality and effectiveness of its services. Organizational strength and capacity. We look for organizations that can show, given its current stage of development, that it has sufficient experience, community support, leadership and staffing, or volunteers with the necessary professional and or lived experience and financial help to achieve its stated level of progress or impact. And again, we're looking for that demonstrated commitment to social justice. So organizations should be able to explain how they are utilizing a social justice strategy, meaning that through either their mission or programs, they're addressing underlying injustices that create inequities, that impede equitable rights, equitable opportunity, and equitable treatment for all, particularly those in greatest need. But please note, our experience informs us that budget size, number of staff, and length of operation alone are not sufficient to determine an organization's ability to effectively serve the community. We recognize that new and mature, smaller and larger nonprofits have different strengths, needs, and capabilities. So our staff assesses each application with this in mind. Go back one, Gail, thank you. So our priorities. So as you look at the slides moving forward, places where you see a red asterisk in the title denotes a change and or update that we have made. And so there have been some shifts to our priorities, and the shifts are as follows. Again, we're looking for those organizations that primarily serve high to extreme need communities as defined by the Allegheny County Community Need Index. And if you look at our website, there is a hyperlink that will take you to the Allegheny County Community Need Index so that you're able to assess whether the communities that you serve fit into those categories. We have a demonstrated commitment to advancing racial justice as evidenced by its mission and core programs. Again, we are looking for that commitment to racial justice. We're also looking for organizations that have an established history in the communities in which it works. We're looking for organizations that are representative of the communities that it serves, including but not limited to leadership and staff who have lived experience in the community issues that it addresses. And also, we're looking for organizations that meaningfully integrate the experience and perspectives of the communities that it serves in the design, implementation, evaluation, and or decision-making processes for its strategies and or programs. Next slide, please. So, other priorities for 2026. We will also give preference to organizations that reflect the following. They have an annual operating budget of under $2 million, have received a grant from the Pittsburgh Foundation since 2023, and are potentially directly impacted by changes and or shifts to responding to federal policy and or funding shifts. So what does that mean? I want to let you know that these preferences do not discount organizations that have budgets over $2 million. So you can have a budget of over $2 million and still receive a grant. It doesn't discount organizations that are new and have never received a grant from the Pittsburgh Foundation. You can be a new organization to us and still receive a grant. And it does not discount organizations that have not been impacted and or is responding to federal policy and or funding shifts. You may not be responding to shifts in federal policy or there's a federal funding shift, but you still are eligible to apply, and that does not discount you from funding. Not every organization that we have supported in the past has checked every box that aligns with our priorities, but with limited resources, this helps us to prioritize how we make difficult decisions when it comes to individuals and communities with the greatest need. We need guidelines to enable our staff to balance the increasing demand for support, continued investment in current programs, and making space for new organizations and innovation. Next slide. So, types of support. So the types of support that we offer here at the Pittsburgh Foundation is one, project support. And those are funds that are used to develop and or implement a specific set of programmatic activities. And we also offer general operating support. And those funds can be used at the discretion of the organization to cover any cost necessary to carry out its mission. Our average grant size is between $50,000 and $75,000. And we do offer a multi-year support option of up to 2 years, which is a maximum ask of $200,000. So how do you know if you're eligible for operating support? Well, I am so happy to tell you. To be eligible for operating support, you need to have been an organization that has been in operation for at least 2 years, have a mission and or core programs consistent with one or more of our grant-making focus areas, be able to report on the results achieved by its program, has an executive director or staff person in an equivalent leadership role that has been in place for at least 12 months, and have an audit completed within the last 2 years if applicable, and or up-to-date financial records that demonstrate sound financial management. If an organization is undergoing a leadership transition, because we know that happens, then the organization must demonstrate that there is a board-led transition plan that includes a defined strategy for interim leadership. When we talk about up-to-date financial records, that includes 990, an operating budget, a project budget, and a profit and loss statement for the last fiscal year. And also to note that if your organization is a church or mosque or other house of worship, you are not eligible for general operating support. Those organizations are, however, eligible for project support. So for example, if you are a church, a mosque, or a house of worship that is running a food pantry for the community, or running an after-school program, or providing formal and or informal mental health supports, you can apply for support from the foundation for those programs, but not for your operations. Next slide, please. Again, this is an area where there has been some changes and some shifts. So please, mark this off for close attention. This is what we do not fund. And so we are very clear in our grant making focus areas what we do fund, but there's often questions about what we do not fund. And so here's things that we do not fund. We do not fund organizational startup support. What does that mean? That means an attorney for you to do your 501c3 paperwork, or a needs assessment when there are no organizational activities taking place. Those are examples. We do not fund statewide or national organizations unless they have an established local office or chapter that meets the above eligibility criteria and priorities. Organizations or projects that expressly advocate for or endorse specific candidates for elected office, we do not fund. We also do not fund annual appeals or event sponsorships. We don't fund episodic or one-time programs and or events. So meaning you have an annual luncheon and you want to get support from us for that. We do not offer that type of support. We don't fund operating expenses for schools, school districts, universities, or hospitals. We also do not fund capital expenses and or campaigns. What do we mean by capital expenses? That means if your organization needs a new roof, or your organization is trying to raise dollars to buy a new property, we do not fund that. We do not fund endowments. We don't provide direct funding for individuals except for individual artists, and that is through our Advancing Black Arts program. We don't fund payments on organizational debt. So if an organization has debt from 2 years ago and you want to pay that down, that is something that we will not fund here at the foundation. We also do not fund costs and activities that are completed before the grant has received a decision from our board. So if you're looking for funding for your after school program and the activities that you ran in 2025, that is something that we will not fund. We also don't fund university overhead costs. We don't fund single disease support organizations. We don't fund educational scholarships. We do have a scholarship program here at the foundation, so you are welcome to go to our website to learn more about that. And we do not fund academic research. Medical research is funded, but it's only funded in a very specific area, and you would have to go to our website to learn more about our medical research funding program. Next slide. So fiscal sponsorship requirements. This is an area that we get a lot of questions about. And so I want to be able to share some information around our fiscal sponsorship requirements. A sponsored project or organization must have an established relationship with a fiscal sponsor. They must include a copy of a fully executed fiscal sponsor agreement with their submitted application. And they must also specify any administrative fees that are assessed by the fiscal sponsor organization in the budget. So if your fiscal sponsor, if you have a 7% fiscal sponsor fee, we want to see that outlined in your budget. Sponsored projects or organizations are not, and I repeat, they are not eligible for operating support. For fiscal sponsors, here's the requirement. If you've chosen an organization to be your fiscal sponsor, this is the requirements. This is what we are looking for. That they have a 501c3 or tax-exempt charitable status as designated by the IRS. They have an operating history of at least 5 years. So if you're choosing a fiscal sponsor that's only been in operation for 2 years, that will not work. They need to have been in operation for at least 5 years. We are also looking for that fiscal sponsor to be current with all state and federal reporting requirements, such as the filing of 990s. You will be asked to upload that information in the application. And also the fiscal sponsors must have the capacity to exercise expenditures responsibly, ensuring that the grant is used only for the purpose for which it is made. A couple other key points that I want to lift up about fiscal sponsorship. The fiscal sponsor agreement that is submitted within the application must, and I repeat, must be signed and dated by both parties. So if there is only one signature and one date, That is not acceptable. We will flag it. It needs to be signed and dated by both parties. If there's no date, we will flag it. So you need to make sure that that fiscal sponsorship agreement has dates. There should be language in the agreement that details how long the agreement is active. Is there a deadline where, like, this agreement is active until December 31 of 2026? Is there is the agreement in effect indefinitely until, one or both parties, with 30 days advance notice decides to end the relationship? That must be documented in your fiscal sponsor agreement. There also cannot be any pass-through language, no pass-through language in the fiscal sponsor agreement. So what does that mean? We don't want to see language where it's written that the grant is received and we're putting it into the bank account of the fiscally sponsored group or project. That is not how that works. The fiscal sponsor is the one who is responsible for the grant, and they are the ones that we are expecting to hold the finances. And again, the agreement should also note the responsibilities of the fiscal sponsor and the responsibilities of the sponsored project or organization. Generally, the Pittsburgh Foundation will only make grants through fiscal sponsorship under the following conditions, meaning the fiscal sponsor provides this service as a core part of its service delivery model. What does that mean? It means that the organization, as a part of their business model, offers fiscal sponsorship. And what we know is that there is a small but growing number of nonprofit organizations that provide fiscal sponsorship as one of its core services to the community. These organizations promote their role as a fiscal sponsorship as part of their communications, meaning we can see it on their website or their strategic plan, et cetera. And they generally have a standard process through which organizations apply to become a fiscally sponsored project. The other condition that we generally make grants through fiscal sponsorship are the project seeking funding, is strongly aligned with and furthers the charitable mission of the fiscal sponsors organization. So a nonprofit may agree to act as a fiscal sponsor for the project because the project's purpose is closely aligned with its established goals, priorities, and mission. And so in this case, the fiscal sponsor has experience with the project's purpose. What does that mean in practice? It means that if you choose a fiscal sponsor in which fiscal sponsorship is not their core business, and you're asking them to sponsor you for an art exhibition cohort, then we're looking for that organization, we're looking for that project to be aligned with the mission and also with the goals and priorities of the fiscal sponsor. We're looking to see, does the fiscal sponsor have any experience on running a art exhibition and cohort? So we're looking for that strong alignment. And what does that mean in basic language? It means you cannot use your friend's nonprofit as a fiscal sponsor. There must be alignment. And so I encourage you all to please be sure to visit our website to review our fiscal sponsorship guidelines. Next slide. So the Pittsburgh Foundation is committed to helping the communities that we serve become equitable and vibrant places where everyone can thrive. We align our grant making with residents' dreams for themselves, their families, and their communities, and we prioritize support in the following 5 focus areas listed on the screen: basic needs, arts and culture, equity and social justice, environment, and economic mobility. So now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Tika Good, to provide a high-level overview of each focus area that is listed here.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us, and Happy New Year. My name is Tika Good. I am a brown-skinned woman with braids in my hair that are up in a bun. I am currently wearing a black shirt and a black suit jacket, and I am sitting in one of our conference rooms here at the Foundation. Through the basic need focus areas, we seek to improve the stability of low-income people by supporting direct assistance to obtain food, housing, healthcare, mental health supports, childcare, education, and employment. Hardships caused by the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020 have been deep and widespread. But for many people, these hardships predated the pandemic and continue to grow. Through our grant making, in this area, we aim to support organizations and programs strongly aligned with the following areas: food access, childcare, education, specifically out of school time programs, employment, housing, mental health, physical health. Next slide. Through the arts and culture focus area, we seek to strengthen small to mid-sized arts organizations and support individual artists by fostering a diverse, healthy, and just arts ecosystem. The Pittsburgh Foundation believes in the transformational power of art and in the talent and strength of Pittsburgh-based artists and organizations. Funding aims to create opportunities for artists and organizations to practice their craft, pursue new ideals, produce thought-provoking work, celebrate totally of the experience of the artist, and encourage culture exchange through shared artistic experiences. We support endeavors to amplify voices, share narratives, and provide more equitable funding throughout the art and culture landscape. In 2026, direct support for individual artists will primarily be activated through the Foundation's program initiatives, such as Advancing Black Arts in Pittsburgh. Through our Foundation-directed grant making, we prioritize support for organizations that demonstrate the following: strong and consistent support for Pittsburgh-based artists, professional and artistic development, providing access to resources and connections for individual artists, prioritizing visibility and amplification of artists' work. Individual artists seeking direct support may consider open program initiative with us at this time. Advancing Black Arts in Pittsburgh. Please stay tuned to our website for the launch of Advancing Black Arts in Pittsburgh's application later in the year. Next slide. Through the equity and social justice focus area, we seek to support civic participation in community organizing to achieve policy changes. While programmatic interventions can improve outcomes for individuals, equitable access to opportunity will only be possible at scale when systematic policies, practices, and culture message that perpetuate injustice are eliminated. Our equity and social justice grant-making places strong emphasis on leadership by individuals who have been directly impacted by systemic injustice, as we believe that they are best positioned to propose solutions that remove barriers that impeded their ability to thrive. In this area, we aim to support organizations and programs strongly aligned with the following areas: voter engagement, access to information, protecting basic needs, and ending mass incarceration and youth justice. Next slide. Through the environmental action focus area, we seek to protect health of our communities and the preservation of our environment. Our environmental action grant making prioritize support for projects, initiatives, and collaborations that center communities in environmental decision making and amplifies the intersectional nature of working to protect the health of our communities and the preservation of our environment. In this area, we aim to support organizations and programs strongly aligned with the following areas: equitable access to land, water, and air, learning and action. Please note, for 2026, the environmental action focus area will only be accepting application by invitation only. Since 2023, this has been a responsive funding area that has allowed us to deepen our understanding of the ecosystem of organizations that align with our priorities. As a result, we are more aware of the need for deeper engagement achieved through more targeted and long-term investments. If you are not a current grantee but is interested in pursuing funding under our environmental action focus areas, please go to our website to complete the entrance form. You will be contacted by a staff member of our team if your organization is invited to participate in an informal meeting and or apply for support. Next slide, please. Economic mobility. Through the economic mobility focus area, we seek to reduce the wealth gap in Allegheny County. We understand that both programmatic and policy level interventions are needed for low-income families and communities to build financial security and increase economic mobility. Through our grant making in this area, we aim to support organizations and programs strongly aligned with the following areas: access to post-secondary education, career advancement, entrepreneurship, and home ownership. Please note that this also is invitation only, and you can visit our website to fill out the form and staff will get back to you or send an invitation for you to apply. If you are not a current grantee, but you are interested, go to the website to complete the entrance form and you will be contacted by someone in the program department. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, one more thing. Gail, can you go back for a minute? And the only area under economic mobility that is not by invitation only is access to post-secondary education. I apologize for that. Next slide, please. Other grant opportunities. Please stay tuned to our website for the launch of Advancing Black Arts in Pittsburgh application. For those interested in support from donors, you are required to complete the philanthropic resource intake form, which is currently in hiatus and should be back up and running on the website sometime in February. And please note that the completion of the intake form does not guarantee funding in any way. Now I will turn the mic over to my colleague, Jill Ritchie, who will give instructions on how to apply. Thank you.
Thank you, Tika. Hi, my name is Jill Ritchie. I am a senior program administrator here at the foundation. I have long brown curly hair. I'm wearing a hot pink cardigan with a black shirt underneath it, and I am in a conference room here at the foundation. Today, I'm going to talk to you about submitting a foundation-directed grant-making request. Gail, next slide. So the first step is accessing the online grant portal. To access our online grant portal, you will need to visit our website, www.pittsburghfoundation.org, and click on the Apply for a Grant link. Once you click on the Apply for a Grant, it will take you to the online grant portal log-on screen. If you are a new user, you will need to create a new account for your organization if you do not already have one. If you are not sure if your organization has an account or not, please do not create a new account. Verify that your organization has an account by reaching out to Rob Noel at noelr@pghfdn.org. If you have forgotten your password, click the Forgot Your Password link. You will receive an email with instructions for resetting your password. Please note that the reset password link is time sensitive and will expire after 15 minutes. If you're an existing user, you'll need to enter your email address and password to log in to the grant portal. Next slide, please. Some features regarding our application: there's no letter of inquiry. You have the option to upload a previously submitted application from other funders. We do the homework as far as learning about your organization, utilizing GuideStar, Candid, your website. There is a built-in budget template and a simplified final report. Next slide, please. Best results, we recommend you use Google Chrome 14 or higher, Firefox 9, or Safari 4. Once you are logged in, you are going to click on the Apply icon at the top of the page and proceed to the eligibility quiz. You're going to want to look for eligibility, FDG, foundation-directed grant application section and click on the check eligibility. Next slide, please. The eligibility quiz will appear and you will be prompted to answer 2 eligibility questions. First question, are you located in and/or primarily serve people in Allegheny County? And second question is, are you one of the following? Are you a 501c3 nonprofit? Are you a church, a mosque, or a ministry? Or are you utilizing a 501c3 fiscal sponsor? You'll submit the eligibility quiz, and if you pass the eligibility quiz, next slide, Gail, you'll click on the apply button, which will open up the application. This is just a preview of some of the questions in the application. The application will hide questions and open questions depending on your answers to some of the questions, such as the type of support you're applying for. If you're applying for operating support, as Tracy mentioned, you're not going to be eligible to utilize a fiscal sponsor. So the fiscal sponsor questions will not open or appear for you to complete, since you're not eligible for that. If you wish to see the question list, you'll be able to click on the question list and preview the question list. You'll be asked about organizational background. You'll be able to, as I mentioned, upload a previously submitted application, the budget information, an optional attachments upload, work samples, and an optional demographic information section. Next slide, please. Fiscal sponsor, I know Tracy touched upon this before. Fiscal sponsor, 501c3 nonprofit organization that provides financial oversight, financial management, and other administrative services to a charitable project that does not possess a 501c3 status. Organizations utilizing a fiscal sponsor are only eligible to apply for project support. For the fiscal sponsor, you will need to provide the following information about your fiscal sponsor: the organization name, their federal ID number, their primary contact name and email, their audited financial statement, their operating budget, and the fiscal sponsor agreement letter. As Tracy mentioned before, the letter cannot be more than 2 years old and must be signed and dated by both authorized parties. Next slide, please. Application overview. The application feature allows applicants the option to direct our staff to publicly available organizational information, such as your website or via your GuideStar or Candid profile. Next slide, Gail. And as I mentioned, you have the option to upload a previously submitted application that has been submitted within the last 6 months. LOIs, inquiry forms, and those types of things are not accepted. Applications only. The application should not be more than 25 pages long. Next slide. Strategic plan area and strategic focus area. There is a primary and a secondary. This is where you're selecting basic needs and whatever focus area. So you'll be selecting a primary and a secondary. If no secondary exists, if the application is fully for education, all you will need to do is select not applicable on the secondary strategy and focus area. Next slide. This is just a general snapshot of what the budget looks like. You want to make sure that the total should equal the amount that you're requesting. And this just kind of gives you an overview of what those budgets would look like. Next slide. And the deadlines. Deadline for this spring cycle is February 3rd by 5:00 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For decisions, May 13th, and then for our fall cycle, July 15th, same thing, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm now going to turn it over to Tracy to share tips for success. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jill. So tips for success. The first tip, and some of these are bolded and in red. So the very first one is please, please, sir, please, ma'am, please, community partners and friends. Read the website, read the website, read the website. There is nothing, all of this information that we are sharing today is pulled exactly from the website. There is nothing hidden. There is no guesswork. We are being as clear as we possibly can because we have a motto here in our department that clear is kind. We are being as transparent as we can be. So please read the website. Most of the information that you need, most of the answers to the questions that you have can be found on the website. Please be sure to align your application to the foundation's priorities and grant-making focus areas. And so don't just look at the focus area and it says education and you assume that it's aligned because you may have an education program that you're considering education, but is not education according to the criteria that we have written on that website. And so you want to make sure that your ask is aligned with what is actually on our website. You want to make sure there are questions within the application that asks about community voice. You want to make sure, and again, that's one of our priorities, that you are aligning your questions, you're aligning your answers and your application to the things that we have presented today and the things that are on our website. Use data to strengthen your case for support. So again, the Allegheny County Community Needs Index, that is a source of data. The Department of Education, if you're doing anything around out of school time, again, that's a source of data. A+ schools, they put out that annual report. That is a source of data. Tell us how you are going to execute the proposed scope of work. Not just here's what the work is, but we are really interested in understanding how are you going to do this? Who is going to be involved? You can't just say, well, we have 5 partners and skip over it. Who are those partners? And if you list a partner, please, friends, make sure that those are actually your partners. If it's a group that you're interested in partnering with, then say that. But don't list them as a partner because we could reach out to them. If you say that the Boys and Girls Club is our partner and we reach out to them and they're like, hey, like we don't know anything about this. We never want to do that because again, we're doing the homework as well as a part of our due diligence process. So please make sure that you are addressing the how. Demonstrate that you have the skills, experience, relationships, etc., to do what you have described. And so again, it's what is the experience, the lived experience, the professional and personal experience of the staff and the volunteers that are going to be doing this work. So if you are a small community neighborhood food bank, being able to talk about like your volunteers are actually residents of the community. Maybe your volunteers are struggling with food insecurity themselves or have struggled with food insecurity. That is a way of building the narrative and demonstrating that you have the skills, experience, and relationships to do what you've described. Upload all, and I can't stress it enough, upload all financial documents. So whether that is your 990, your profit and loss statement, your audit, please be sure to upload all of those documents. Please do not upload a blank document as a placeholder. We want you to upload that information. And I also want to let you all know that if you have done an independent review or a financial review, that does not equal an audit. And so if your organization is not at the threshold that you are doing an audit, then you need to upload a profit and loss statement because we will not accept a financial review or an independent review. Also, your 990 needs to be within 2 years. So if you are submitting an application for the spring cycle and it is 2026, your audit needs to be 2024. If you're submitting an audit that's 2023 or 2021, we cannot accept it. So please make sure that your financial documents are up to date. Tell us what will measurably be different as a result of the proposed work. What are your intended outcomes? What will success look like? We want to know that. For arts, share your best sample work that's related to the project or tell us the story of the proposed work and its anticipated impact. Ask for help if you need it, but ask early. I cannot stress it enough. If you wait until February 3rd from 12 o'clock noon, 2 o'clock p.m., and you are trying to get help, you may not get help, because that is when we get the most onslaught of, everybody needing help and services. So please be sure to ask for help early. Don't wait until the last minute to ask for help. Please don't wait until the last minute to submit your application. People like to, wait to the last day to do their application, and you're trying to submit that application at 4:59. It may not go through, or you're trying to submit at 5 o'clock on the dot. 5 o'clock on the dot, everything is closed. It closes down at that point, and you will not be able to submit. And you can send us emails, you can call, but that 5 o'clock deadline is non-negotiable. If you let us know early that you are having problems submitting, then we can do something. And early doesn't mean 10 minutes to 5. Early means early. So please ask for help early. Start your application as early as possible and get the application in as early as possible. Early is the word. So we can help you, we can support you. We love to, and we want to help and support you, but you need to reach out to us early. Next slide. So now we are going to talk about our Beyond the Grant Dollar support, because we do have support for our grantees that are beyond the grant dollar. So I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Tika Good, to talk more about that.
Thank you, Tracy. Next slide, please. More Than Money, an ethos and programmatic effort to extend support beyond financial awards by investing time, expertise, and resources to strengthen the ability of our grantees to adapt and thrive so they can advance their mission, particularly small nonprofits and individual artists. We seek to offer knowledge, direct support, exponential learning opportunities through workshops, networking opportunities, and media spotlights to those who persistently experience historical underinvestment, helping to strengthen their adaptability and advance their potential. Past More Than Money offerings have included networking events, legal clinics, fundraising sessions, fiscal sponsorship sessions, budget and finance, race and disability webinars, navigating the shifting legal landscape for nonprofits, Know Your Right, and we also have a grantee spotlight. Please reach out, go to our website within the month of February. We will be launching a More Than Money website, and you will find more opportunities there. So please be sure to visit us in February on our website for more information on More Than Money. Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to Tracy so we can start answering some of you all's questions.
Thank you, Tika. So I am going to start answering some questions that have shown up in the webinar chat. I would encourage you, again, please place your questions in the Q&A box. Some of the questions that have come up is, we are in Westmoreland County, but serve Allegheny. Can we still apply? Yes, you can apply, but your focus would have to be Allegheny County, and more than likely, depending upon what the application is for, it will most likely be project support requests that we will entertain. Let's see. Does being featured in the Wish Book count as a grant received since 2023? It does not. Only from our foundation directed grant making and some of our program initiatives, Small and Mighty, Social Justice Fund, Advancing Black Arts, those count, but Wish Book does not count. But just because you have not received a grant prior, if you received the grant prior to 2023, that does not prohibit you from applying. So you can apply. It's the preference, but it is not a requirement. Can other counties in Western Pennsylvania apply, or just Allegheny County? So again, you can be in another county and apply, but we're only going to look for that support that is focused in Allegheny County. So you could be a statewide organization. We're looking to see, do you have an office or a chapter that is active here in Allegheny County? Do you have staff people that are actually doing work here in Allegheny County? And again, we would be entertaining a project or program request. There's a question, can you explain what donor advised funding is and how to become eligible for this? As we stated, there is an intake form through Philanthropic Resources that is on the website. And so if you were interested or want to learn more about donor advised funding, you would fill out that intake form. And again, it is on hiatus until February. Let's see what else is here. Do you consider year-round, weekly, bi-weekly program as episodic? And so it all is going to depend upon the program, and each area, and some of the areas do have special requirements. So if you're an OST program, you are required to do at least 3 times a week. And we will take into consideration, like if you meet year-round, so if you're an OST program that has, we're looking for you to have programming available at least 3 times a week. And if you have a summer program, that's great. So that is what we look for. But like episodic is something like, oh, we do this once a quarter, or we do this biannually, or we do this annually. So that is what we are thinking about when it comes to episodic. Someone asked, can you apply if you're in the midst of a grant? If you're in the middle of the grant, an answer is no. You need to spend down your funds, and we need your final report. And so if you are in the midst of a grant, if you are in the midst of a 2-year grant, and maybe you just completed year 1 and you're looking to apply this cycle, please don't. We don't. You would have to wait until you are done or very much close to being done with that second year. So you may be looking to apply for a spring cycle grant and you haven't spent all your funds, you haven't, cleared, you haven't closed your final report, but your final report is due in May. We can consider it, but I would also encourage you to reach out to your program officer to learn more. We talked about if you are in Westmoreland County and you are looking to apply for funds, I would encourage you to look up the Community Foundation of Westmoreland County. Our funding footprint is primarily Allegheny County. Let's see. At what point in the application would you be eligible to apply for specific funds such as Suckling? Well, there is within the application, you can select Foundation Directed, you can select Suckling, or you can select Serving Seniors in Allegheny County. So those selections are there within this application. Are there any restrictions on applying if you currently are finishing a grant cycle? Again, if your final report is due in April or May, you can, and you're in the last year of your grant, you are welcome to apply. But again, that application is all going to depend upon your completing the grant, so your final report and spending your funds. Are there waiting periods between grants for this year? No, there is not a waiting period this year. All right. Quick question regarding financial statements. We have an accountant who has prepared and reviewed our financials as well as our internal P&L. Should we include both in any uploads, or does the accountant review statement supersede our QuickBooks P&L? If you are not required to submit an audit, we just need your profit and loss statement. We do not accept the independent review. We do not accept the financial review that accountants do. We want to see your profit and loss. We want to see actual income and actual expenses. And so don't just give us the profit and loss where it only has like your expenses. We also want to see income, because that helps us in our assessment around the financial health of the organization. Let's see. Was there another funding opportunity for individual artists other than Advancing Black Arts? Do all individual artists require fiscal sponsorships? The only funding opportunity that we are doing in 2026 for individual artists will be through Advancing Black Arts. So please stay tuned for the deadline for that. It is not published as of yet. Does the Pittsburgh Foundation consider local program budgets for Allegheny County that are less than $2 million rather than an organizational overall national budget. So if you are a national organization that has an office here, we are looking at that national budget. Like, we want to know what the local expenses are, but we are looking at the national budget. So we are looking in its totality, because you are not a standalone subset. You are governed by that national entity. So, and again, just because the budget is over 2 million, that does not discount you from applying. I want to say it again. Just because the budget is over 2 million, it does not discount you from applying. Let's see. Is about having a fiscal sponsor and what I could apply for. So if you have a fiscal sponsor, if you have a fiscal sponsor, if you are a project, a group, or a collective that is using a fiscal sponsor, you are not eligible for general operating support. You can only apply for project support. So you can't apply for operations. You can only apply for program or project support. So I hope that clarifies the confusion. When you say 3 days per week, does it need to be provided to the same student 3 days a week if we see each student weekly? So here's an example. If you're a mental health program and you see a client once a week, that's perfectly fine. For an out of school time program, for after school, we're looking at, is that program running 3 days a week? And if you are only doing, like, we're only seeing like 10 students weekly every week, and it's the same 10 students, and we're only seeing them on Tuesdays, and that's how your program's set up, we would consider that a lot more episodic. But if you have additional questions about that, please schedule office hours, and so we're happy to learn more. We are a national organization with several public schools in high-need areas. Would the school be the applicant, I think, with us as the fiscal sponsor, or do they have a 501c3? Does their project have to be related to an out-of-school time program? So there's a couple of ways that this can happen. So a school district could submit a project support request for this programmatic activity, but it needs to be aligned with our education criteria, which you would need to look at. So there's more than just being in a high need or extreme need area. So you really want to look at our criteria for education. If you are a national organization, so you would not serve as a fiscal sponsor because a school is already a charitable entity. So you would not be serving as their fiscal sponsor. The school is already a charitable entity. They should have a 501c3 designation. So you would not be their fiscal sponsor. If there is an organization that, that doesn't have a 501c3 and needs a fiscal sponsor, again, they need to meet the fiscal sponsor guidelines that have been outlined within our website. But again, for those details, please reach out and let us know, and we'd be happy to learn a little more. Is the Ministry of Service not eligible? I'm not really sure what you mean by Ministry of Service, so definitely would need more information on that. Let's see. Continuing with weekly, bi-weekly, we serve children in schools during school time, not OST. Do we still need to meet 3 times a week? It's all going to depend on what the programming is. And so that's going to be the question. So it's going to depend on the programming is, but right now, the standard is 3 days a week. And so even in school, we're looking at what's happening. And so again, we would have to look more and learn more about like your ask and your program in order to make that determination. Let's see. I think, let's see. Is there a link to the donor advised page that you might be able to share? It is on hiatus right now, and so we don't have a link to that page that we would be able to share with you right now. But if you check back on our website and you do a search of philanthropic resources, donor intake, you would be able, it will take you to that page, but right now it is on hiatus. I think I have answered all of the questions. All right, just a quick reminder. The application deadline is February 3rd at 5 p.m. Please be sure to get your applications in early if you need to get them in early. Don't wait until the last minute. If you have questions, please feel free to ask any questions that you may have. You can set up office hours with Tika. Many of you got the email. There's a link to book office hours with Tika. If you have additional questions, you are able to reach out to me. I'm happy to send you my Calendly link and you can book time if you need to. We are here to help as much as possible. I cannot stress enough, please, please, please review our website. That is the source of all information. Everything that we have shared with you today is on our website. Please be sure to read the questions on the application carefully. And again, pay special attention to being able to talk about your alignment with our grant making areas. How is your organization's work, mission, program, project? How is that aligned? And also being able to demonstrate alignment with our priorities, because we are looking at that. The preference priorities for 2026, if you are not aligned with those things, again, it does not mean that you are not able to apply. I want to say it again, it does not mean that you are not able to apply. We are accepting applications from new organizations that don't have a funding history with us. We are accepting applications from organizations that have budgets over $2 million. And we are accepting applications from organizations that are not impacted by federal shifts in policy or funding. But that is another lens in which we use, but it is not a lens that discounts you all. So again, I see no more questions, which is great. But thank you all so much for coming today. It is our joy and it is our pleasure to be able to share this information with you and to be able to make this process as transparent as possible and to try to make this process not as burdensome as possible, and also to give everybody peace and ease with applying for funding. We know it can be a challenge. Many of us have worked in nonprofit. We have served as executive directors. We know how challenging this work can be. We know how challenging seeking funds is. And so we want to make this process as easy as possible. But I would also, be remiss if I didn't share with you that the demand of requests keeps increasing every year. Every year. We're very transparent about the process, very transparent about the criteria and our priorities, and the number of applications increases. And that forces us to have to make some really difficult decisions. And while we know all of you do such amazing work in the community that I can't say enough about, it's difficult when we have to say no. But I would encourage you to keep in mind that a delay is not a denial unless there's a reason that you're totally not aligned, and we will share that with you if you ask. But again, just keep in mind that, the demand is increasing and we are in times where the need is great. And so, again, we're trying to meet all of these needs and trying to support community as best we can, but our resources are limited. And so we have to make really tough decisions with limited resources. But again, thank you so much for coming. Please check out our website for additional information. You can set up office hours with Tika, and we are happy to help you in any way possible. Thank you so much for coming today. We hope that you enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing your application.